again. Big opening. Pass 5. Pass 10. Perko's a man. And he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards of the carry.
Welcome back to the Believe in Badger Football podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, it's a freaking awesome day today.
It is. You know why? Because we are past the loss and we have one of the best running backs to ever play at Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
And you know how bringing the tailback on gets me all hot and bothered. So we have one of the best, possibly one of the fastest dudes to ever go to Wisconsin, maybe on this earth, Michael Bennett. Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. Again, it's been a pleasure watching you guys, develop with everything you guys have going on. And, I just appreciate you guys having me on, getting a chance to speak some Badger football, some life. And I'm excited about this upcoming season, even though we took a loss on Saturday. But, coming out the gate, we normally start slow. And I know last year I got to that Penn State game, and it really made me hate Penn State even more nowadays than, to lose to them the first game of the year last season. But to open up with a win, to come away with a loss this week, again, they're still trying to, put some things together. So like I said, we normally are a second half team, regardless if it's, during the season or early during the season or later during the year. We always come out a little sluggish, but I think they'll get it going here pretty soon.
So Mike, let me fanboy you quick. Okay. Because when I signed to go to Wisconsin, I didn't really watch much college football because we played Saturdays. So The Badgers play Saturdays. I didn't watch much. And then I went out and had a lot of fun at nighttime with the guys after we won a game. Yeah. So I didn't watch much college football. And then, we went and visited. And I sat on a table with AD.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I met you. Who knows? But Ron just graduated.
Yeah.
And you were the guy.
Yeah.
So I got to watch games. So the first time watching all the games, you were the running back.
Oh,
so I was like, man, this guy is awesome. Look at how fast he is. Like, I'm going to go block for him. And then I did. It was my fanboy moment. And Mike, I know I'm going deep here, but you signed a jersey for me.
Oh, really?
You signed a Minnesota Vikings jersey that traveled all around college. And I think I might have it still. It might be at my parents' house. Still got the tags on it and everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's cool. That's cool.
It was definitely a heartwarming moment for me.
Definitely, but thank you. Yeah, that's sweet, man. That's right.
This is going to be awesome. Just want to remind you guys real quick, we are brought to you by betonline.ag. BetOnline continues to be the number one spot for all of your number one sports wagering needs. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, esports, golf, tennis, you name it. They've got it over at betonline.ag. Plus your favorite Vegas casino games, props, parlays, you name it, they've got it. Head on over to betonline.ag today, or use your mobile device to sign up and use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BLEAV50, to get a 50% welcome bonus, I should say, on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline, where the game starts. Michael, I mean, we could start with how many Badgers have ever hit 10 flat or below in the 100? I'm a track guy. Bernie will tell you this. It's like you, Demi O'Malley, and like one or two other dudes.
You know what? I'm not sure. I remember, I think, like, if they weren't football guys, I remember Reggie Torian was there. Other than that, I'm not sure. I know we had some fast guys on the team, and it was almost like you could take guys off the football team and make 2 to 3 4x1 teams, and with raw speed. And some had track background, and some guys just could run. Conroy White was one of them. Chris Chambers. I know Lee was really, really fast. We had a couple like Mike Eccles. We just had guys that was just flat out raw, just fast, and with different techniques and things like that. If they were to pursue it, we could have had, I would say, a national championship by just a football team of guys in a 4x100 relay. So, yeah.
Dude, you're so fast. Like, I don't think people get like what a 10 flat even looks like.
No, the
Yeah.
fastest, I think you had the record for fastest 100 time for an NFL player ever while you were in the league, right?
Yeah, so it was 998, and then plus the 2000 season, I was due to go to the Olympics, but I wanted to focus on football, and that was just kind of one of the highlights of everything. Moving forward, football was just my gift. It was where I wanted to be, and track was just kind of one of those things that kept me in shape, kept me running, and kept me active. But I love what Ed Nuttycombe had in our track program, and to see guys going from football to track was just amazing, and it worked to its benefit for me.
We've actually talked a lot
like
about
9
Ed
years.
Nuttycombe on this podcast. It's very strange that how many times Coach Nuttycombe has come up. Let's go back
Yeah.
to football though, and let's go back to your childhood. Now you
Definitely.
went to high school in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Are you born and raised in Milwaukee?
No, so I was originally brought up in the South, Mississippi, and I, traveled around Florida, Memphis, and then I landed in Wisconsin, I think 7th or 8th grade. And then after that, went to Milwaukee Tech and, did football, did track, soccer, baseball. I mean, you name it. I just had my, kind of my body and everything that I could do for sports wise. The only thing I didn't take up was golf, and I kind of hated that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But so just going to Milwaukee Tech and just being a huge fan. I had two uncles that played professionally before I did. So I looked up to them, and that was just my goal, whether it be, on the defensive side, because I played cornerback, I played linebacker, I played everything on both sides of the ball, except defensive lineman and offensive lineman. But a funny thing is my high school linemen were kind of like my size, and all they need to do is just get in front of a guy or get around the edge just enough to shield them off so I can hit the corner, and it was over from there.
What age did you start seeing like football becoming what you wanted to do? And when did you start playing?
I was always an aggressive kid. I was angry. And football was my only outlet to really, like, you can go out and tackle somebody and hurt them and not get in trouble. So I just was like, okay, football is it. So as I'm seeing my uncles play the glorified positions, getting the touchdowns, I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. So I started out at like 5. So flag football, T-ball was boring. Soccer, we really ran too much at that time. So I'm like, no, I don't think I could do this, because even though I'm gifted with speed, I just need a burst. I can't run the whole, what do they run, like 90 minutes in soccer or something like that? I cannot run that whole time as fast as I want to. So again, as I progressed, football just became that passion. And I watched, guys like Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. And as I'm coming up, I'm like, wow, I love this position. These guys get the ball, they run, they do all these moves, and they get to show their speed. And I became obsessed with that position. And luckily it worked out for me.
I'm going to go completely off track here, Bern, because
Okay.
Do you think, like, I personally miss when, like, running backs really mattered in the NFL, like really mattered in the NFL.
Yes,
do you miss that too? Because, like, I mean,
miss it.
think about, like, 2002, you're in the Pro Bowl, and who are the other dudes who were there with you? Danny Tomlinson, and, like, all these, Reese Holmes, like, all these dudes are just
Larry
legend.
Johnson. I mean, it was a group of guys, and I say to this day, even though I was in the same class with LaDainian Tomlinson as we were drafted, you could see the difference of, the fullback, the type of offense that we ran at Wisconsin. We had 2 massive tight ends that was bigger than the doorway. Like, and that was what I missed about being at Wisconsin. I mean, the linemen were so huge. And I think, like, when I first got there, I saw Aaron Gibson and I kept rubbing my eyes, and I was waiting for my vision to become normal, but it was normal. And I was like, wow, this guy, I mean, was massive. And I even, myself and I think it was 4 other guys, we all stepped in like one leg of his jeans at one time. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. But to get back to your point, it was just so, wow. It was just an incredible feeling. I mean, just to be there, to see those guys. And as football just started to take off, for me, it's like that's what I wanted to do. So I looked and I idolized guys like Marshall Faulk that could do every position. And that's where my mindset was. But at Wisconsin, like I look back at my stats from a long time ago, and when I do other interviews and just talk about Wisconsin football, I think I caught 2 passes in college. And everything else was run, 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 run. And that's all we did. We had, I think Chad Coons was fullback at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Ron had Cecil and Chad. And then Bernie came. I mean, that was football to me. Like, line up, we're going to smack you in the mouth. Regardless if it's 1 yard, if it's 2 yards, the big one is going to pop because we had that. The guys that would just lay on you and lay on you and lay on, and then as you see the holes just got wider and wider, and you could just hit your head on the goalpost with no effort.
Well, with a little effort.
Yeah, well, okay, a little effort. But
listen, let's not say that it's not just some like random dude off the street running through those holes.
Well,
this is Michael Bennett running
at
through
the
those
same
holes.
time, it was you just needed just a crack, and I think Coach Alvarez, which always bring him in as the epitome of coaches because he built that program from like nothing. I remember looking at like the programs, go to Wisconsin. And you're like, wait, what? Go where? But then as Brent Moss and Terrell Fletcher, and then you start hearing the run game, and you're like, wow. And then the stadium is packed. And it's like, well, where else would rather go? You're a local kid. This is the biggest program in town. And Madison shuts down on Saturdays, and that's what you wanted, and it just turned out, again, like I said, to be a great opportunity for me.
Was Madison always number one for you?
Well, you know what? It was Big Ten football, but my heart was set on Florida State. I had offers from Florida State, Michigan. I can't stand them, by the way, but it's just, oh man, it's just every time I see them on TV. So Ohio State, SC, Notre Dame, Florida State, but I always knew I wanted to go to Wisconsin. I had a Texas, and I think it was Texas A&M because they were one of my favorites at one time, but I always knew in the back of my heart, like, this is where I wanted to go. Wisconsin is where I wanted to go play football. But you take the other visits just to go see what it's like and experience other campuses. But at the end of the day, you're a local kid. You're 45 minutes, 50 minutes from home. What a place to kick your career off at.
You were coached by Brian White.
Oh yeah, Coach Wright and all his bubble gum. We used to sit in the office and just chew until we got everything to perfection. But Coach White was a great coach. I still follow him to this day. And then I think Coach Mason was the wide receiver coach at the time. Who was the O-line coach? He was
Huber.
Yeah, he was a mean person.
Dude.
But I loved his passion. Like, when the lineman got something wrong, we ran it over and over and over till you got it right. And he was just that another one of those passionate coaches. Yeah.
So when you show up on campus, who's your host?
Well, you know what? Like I said, I haven't been back in a while. I don't have a host. Normally, I've been talking to Mark Peeler for the last few weeks here. Mark is always been, our go-to guy for his things just within the program. And I just recently just kind of reached out to him, but I haven't been, like I said, the last game I was back was Penn State. Mike Jackson ran track with me at the Striders in Milwaukee, and so he was my contact from then to get tickets and stuff like that. But as of right now, you said my host when I came,
when you took your official visit.
Oh, okay. So I had Darnell Thompson.
He's a Milwaukee guy too, right?
No, Darnell was local. He was from Madison.
He was.
So yeah. So Darnell played linebacker. And Bryson was his brother. Cecil was there, and I want to say Eddie Faulkner.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then Carlos. So I had a lot of guys that I was kind of being.
That's a solid group.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy solid group. Yeah, it was a good group of guys, and but basically showed me around, showed me the campus, And it was, it was love at first sight. So I couldn't say no. So
you show up, you're like, man, this is me. I love Wisconsin. I love Madison.
yeah,
I'm a Badger.
yeah.
What's it like when you show up and you're like, I'm a freshman? Like,
Well,
what does that feel like?
Well, you're lost because without the football team, I would be like, hi. I would be that weird guy. Hi, how you doing? But without football, you were lost. And I just think it's a whole different world. You think you're ready for it, but I think by the time as a freshman, that you need that one football season or that time to really get acclimated to, being on your own, the academics, the study habits, knowing where to go. I mean, Madison is a big campus and you have to go up Aspen Hill in like November, December. It's like, oh, well, you think I can sleep in today or something like that. But at the end of the day, it was it was an easy transition due to, just having the sports and just being excited about being there.
Right. You couldn't do crazy things like the students did. Like you were very structured.
You had to be. That's the big thing about our, I would say our program is once you come there, you see the structure. You have so many leaders in so many different areas of the team, whether it be from the equipment guys, whether it be from study hall. I mean, Nancy, what was her last name? Nancy Gates. She was the oldest tutor in Madison at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like my favorite person. Like she was like my grandmother to me. Yeah. And I could go and talk to her about my classes and things like that. But like you said, the structure was the biggest thing. And just the camaraderie with the guys. I mean, you had guys from all over, even guys from New York. We had guys from like Jersey because they would always be like the Jersey accents. Now I get it. And so the New York way of guys, now I get it as I've gotten older. But yeah, we had guys from all over. And I think the mixture of men at that time was so much gelled together. It was just that brotherhood that it just pulled you in even more. And when I left my junior year, I hated to leave because as you transition to the NFL, you don't get anything like what you have in college or high school because guys are out there battling for each other. It's not like a paycheck. But, now with the NIL deals, it's like, okay, I got to do my thing. But at the end of the day, back then it was totally different. Guys, even now to this day, they put it out on the line for each other. But we had guys, I mean, it was when you looked in their eyes, you knew like we just bled Badger football and we wanted to go out and prove that we were worthy of the accolades that we were receiving.
That's beautiful and so true. And so I'm going to take it on. Actually, no, I'm going to take it. Who were the guys in the locker room? Were there any like one or two or three guys who like stood out as like really embodying that culture that you're talking about?
Well, I believe everyone stood out. I think every group stood out. And again, being an offensive guy, you kind of hung around offensive guys. But the guys that we had, like the offensive line, like it's almost like they went to the bathroom together every time. All the guys who, here at training table. Oh, and let me just say, I have never eaten that way in my life until I got to college. I mean, steaks, chicken, whatever you want, and you can take it all home. Like, I mean, it was a buffet of unbelievability. But I think each group had their own significant input as being the role of the leader of the line, the leader of the defensive line. And also we had like guys, oh my gosh, I mean, I have to think back. We had some guys like Ross Kalaji on the defensive line. We had guys like Wendell Bryant. We had his last name was Burke, Tom Burke.
Burke.
He was the only guy on the team that if you said the wrong thing to him, he would drag you around the whole locker room and you would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. But he had a personality that he was like quiet, but he was a mean guy. And when he spoke, you listen. And that went along with, other positions, but he's one of the guys that really just stood out. And you can go on and on because it was so many different guys. But again, it's been so long for me. I have to just, sit to myself and think, well, who was here? Who was there? But at the end of the day, I think each position had their leaders. Eddie Faulkner was a great leader. Ron was a great leader. Ron led by example. And I believe Eddie led by example as well. But when they needed to be vocal, they were vocal. But the offensive linemen, I think they were just like big elephants in the room. And it was like when they roared, everybody would shut up and listen because, they were the guys that just was the big meaty guys. And it was just a beautiful time.
Literally a herd of buffalo.
Yeah.
Those dudes herd of buffalo. It's funny.
A herd of buffalo on mopeds that they are definitely too big to be riding.
Dude, wait, you know what? I think that was another thing that shocked me. The weight limit for those mopeds when I got to school. I'm like, wait a minute. The back of the moped is down and it's still moving. It probably couldn't get up to 50, but it got them to where they needed to go.
Well, they used to tell all the parents that what's his name? You just met him in the tackle.
Gibby.
Gibby.
Yeah.
Oh, Gibby. They're like, Gibby can fit on this. And a spree.
Yeah, it was a spree. Yeah.
Dude, it was like not even a 50cc spree. And a spree, for everyone listening, is like the smallest scooter you could have got.
Yeah.
And somehow he, as the largest human, was on that scooter. I just find that to be like some of these things you don't ever forget.
No. And that's one that I would never forget too, when they said they had to have 2 helmets and then insert another piece just to fit his head. And I mean, humanly, that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life.
They Rydell customized that helmet for him.
Yeah.
For one person.
Yeah, for one person.
It's unbelievable.
All of these years, one guy.
It's like having Shaquille O'Neal feet. For all these years, you have one helmet. Well, it's funny. You mentioned all these guys that we play with, which I think is so exciting that we have like that overlap. Yeah. One guy, I have a question. Did you play with Casey Robback?
Yep. I played with Casey, Bill Ferrario. I mean, again, Dag Ratz, oh gosh, I can't even pronounce his last name. Dag Rackcloff, but he was a tight end, 87, Sig. We had tight end linemen. Like these guys, and I look at the hybrid guys today, I'm like, no, they wouldn't last when we played. They would not last.
No.
Okay, they would be a wide receiver all day long. Travis Kelce, I love him. I mean, he's a great, receiver, but I think he's a wide receiver. Tight ends are like just baby linemen to me, and we had like giants,
Sigmund was not a baby lineman.
No, but he was a tight end.
I know, it's scary.
Yeah, and it was like, man, I mean, I remember, I think we went to, I think it was Michigan. And Sig was screaming and yelling. He's like, we're going to go out here and I can't, say all of his words. But at the end of the day, we got the point. And we went out and, it was just an all-out just bloodbath. And at the end of the day, we lost the game, but we felt good because, we felt we dominated enough to win the game. But again, they watered the grass, we think, a night before. We had the little small cleats. We were slipping and sliding. We had to change shoes during the game. So they set that up. But at the end of the day, again, I still hate Michigan, but, they
definitely did that.
Yeah.
100% they did that. I just mentioned because now Casey is working for the university, working for the football program in recruitment, which I love.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool that all these guys have come back to be a part of the program.
Definitely. And I look at a guy too, Al Johnson. He was our center.
Yep.
I played with Al, and Al was like one of those, he would drive Al would drive a tractor to work and have chew everywhere and get out, go in the locker room, get dressed, tape his fingers up and just get ready to go into a brawl. That's Al for me. But to see him now as a running backs coach, it's like, wow, you've blocked for running backs all your life. Now you're getting to see it where we saw it from. So I think that's totally incredible. I think it really shows the program and how well that not only recruiting, but the guys that come back and the guys that they allow to come in and coach. And I think I think Ross is part of the weightlifting, or he's the head.
He's the
D-line coach now.
D-line coach. Okay, well, yeah. So, but again, just to bring those guys back, and for Coach Chris to give those guys a chance to really elevate. I mean, look at Jim Leonard. I mean, he's one of the most sought after coaches in forever in our school history. Like, he's wanted in the NFL to come and be a D coordinator just because of his masterminding at what he does on the defense. And I tip my hat to him because, most guys just after they're done, they're just done. And it's bittersweet for a lot of players, when you make that transition, but just to get back into coaching. I think that would be hard for me just because of the relationships you build with the players, and you hate to see them go, you hate to see them get hurt or cut or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's part of life. It's part of the business of football. And I think I just still haven't come to accept that yet.
Well, when also you mentioned Al just taping his hands up and going out there. If Ben Johnson was my cousin, I would go out there and take my fingers up and punch anyone in the face.
And you have to think, I mean, and like I said, you're refreshing my memory, because I mean, it's so many guys that at that point when I was playing that had come through, and we could play shuffleboard with any of our linemen. All of our linemen knew every position, and you could have somebody at one position one week, switch them over to left tackle the next week. I think the versatility of the program, and I look at now, they brought me in as just a pure athlete. Chris Chambers ran stutter and go on me. I did a 360, fell down. And by that time he was at the goalpost, I chased him. I did my job, but I wasn't built for backpedaling. I'm sorry. Then I think I was, they tried me as safety, but my natural position was just with the ball in my hand, and it worked out for me. But it just shows you the depth of what we have. And I look at the young kid there now, Braylon, at being a linebacker. And then by somebody getting hurt, well, he played around back in high school. Let me see what he can do. And bam, here we go again. But it just shows you the recruiting of Wisconsin, of the program, what they go out and look for in terms of every position, but they always find those gems to where we can put this guy anywhere and he'll show up and play on, Saturdays and hopefully someday on Sundays.
I mean, look at Calvin Barrett. He played offensive line and defensive line.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Look at JJ. What was JJ? He was
JJ was a tight end.
Yeah.
So was TJ. TJ was a tight end.
Exactly. Follow my brother's footsteps. And now look, I mean, I think the only one was what's the fullback? Derek. Yeah. So I think he just stayed at a natural spot for him, and that it suits him well.
It suits him well. But I would say that you got to think the culture has been built basically when you were there. You mentioned Fletch and like Moss. But previous to that, there really wasn't that many guys.
Well, it wasn't. It was, I mean, if you look at the history of Wisconsin, I mean, and I look back in the stands when it was like, a high school game, or not, well, it looked like a high school game, but not a big one. Yeah. But it's at a college. And I think once Coach Alvarez took over, he set out on a mission, and it grew and grew and grew. And now it's just like every time you look on the TV, the Badgers are in the top tier of basketball, football, track and field, girls soccer, girls this, girls volleyball. And I mean, it has really exploded. Even the campus, like you go back on campus, and I don't remember skyscrapers. I don't remember these really nice luxury places. The Towers was the place to be, or Regent Street. But at the end of the day, now you have like, I mean, it looks like, oh gosh, what do you call it? Like Michigan Avenue in downtown, like Chicago or something.
It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. But the KK's still there. So
the KK's still there. There's some Wando's is still there.
Yeah, Wando,
there's some places that believe me, I sat in Wando's for a lot of time this weekend. Well, Mike, I think the culture of the running backs room will forever be there because of what guys like you did, Ronnie, me, and so many others. I mean, you're basically passing the baton, not to make a track pun, to somebody else. The next, you did it to AD. And
every year from AD to Calhoun. Well, I think AD, it was somebody last name Smith that was there. Dwayne Smith,
AD,
Calhoun,
AD, PJ Hill.
Clay.
You had Zach Brown, Big Play John Clay. Begat Monty Ball, begat James White, begat Melvin Gordon, begat Corey Clement, begat Jonathan Taylor, begat Braylon Allen.
It's unbelievable.
You can't write it no better than that. And every guy has played, went on to the next level and really, I mean, just taken off. But at the end of the day, I always tell myself, I wish I'd have just stayed one more year, because when you go through the numbers, and I missed 2 games my junior year,
and still had almost 1,600 yards.
Yeah, and I think I could have had
more than 1,600 yards.
I could have got 2,000 in 1 year or more.
Yeah.
But I go down the list of the guys and what they've done. Look, my time was my time. But again, I really think we are RBU.
Let's talk about that 2000 season, because you guys, like, your offense was explosive, but everyone got hurt like all the time. The only guy to play every game was, coincidentally, Lee. He was the only guy who was of the skill position players who was able to play every single game.
Wait, that was also the a lot of people got suspended too. The shoebox.
Yeah, the shoebox.
Yeah, that was shoebox. So, but like,
is that still around?
It's still around.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? You can go in there and say you played a sport, and they'll give you a discount.
All right, cool.
Because I've done it. I'm like, dude, I'm 20 years out, but can I get a discount? Because I'm sure 10%.
Yeah.
I think they'll give it to anyone if you ask.
Yeah.
So I think they changed the rules.
2 questions. A, I think that team had you, Chris Chambers, Lee Evans, and Nick Davis on it. I think that might be the fastest team of all that's ever been in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that was the track team there. But we have some other guys too now that was like, sub 10. I mean, I think
Jamar was on that team too.
Yeah, Jamar was on there. Conroy White.
Mike
I'm trying to think of the other skill. Yeah, Mike. Like we had an A,
burners,
B, and the regular track team would have probably been like a C group, because we just had pure speed.
Well, BJ Tucker was there too, right?
Yeah, BJ. I forgot about BJ too. Yeah, and BJ was like my arch rival in high school. Yeah, I still owe him.
He was fast too.
50. Yeah.
So, talk to us a little bit about going from being the number 2 guy as a sophomore to being the guy as a junior. Yeah. What was that transition for you, like both like on the field and like mentally, and in terms of like as being a leader on the team?
Well, it was funny because it was like doing spring ball, and I had an amazing spring, and I was like, wow, okay, well, this is my opportunity. But then it was like, run, dang. I'm like, man, that's got a good ring to it. And I started trying to put my name into it. But I just thought that all season after Ronnie left and I got a chance to, go into spring ball and compete, I really wanted it. I wanted it really bad. And it came at a great time for me. And I think Carlos Daniels was there, Eddie Faulkner, I think, Broderick Williams. We had a really deep group at that point in time, but to be able to come out and take that position, I still felt young. I still felt really not as you would say, I was still a little right. I really wasn't a seasoned veteran to taking over that role like that at that point in time. But as time went on, you have the Eddie Faulkners, the Carlos Daniels, you have a great running back room. And that running back room helped me embrace that role, because it's a lot of nerves to really suit up. Now, instead of 1,000 people, you got 60, 70,000 people. And Ron's shoes were definitely a deep hole to fill. And you really had to pick up where he left off. And I'm just thankful that it all worked out for me in the end.
Do you think you would have had a Heisman chance if you stayed another year?
Oh, my gosh, would I? I mean, you look at the guys that left at that time, it was just pretty much all skill position guys. And the offensive line had already gelled. So it was like, oh, man, another year. I think we ended up going to the Sun Bowl my junior year, my last year there. We played UCLA. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, Then you get the buzz. Okay, well, you can, you got the potential to do this, and you do that. So it was a long thought process to make the switch to leave. But at the end, I felt I needed to make the right decision for myself and my family at that time. But giving me another year, I really think I could have put up some crazy numbers. Looking at how AD came in and went off, and AD was amazing. Like, I don't think he get as much credit as he should. But I mean, all the backs that has come through there, you give credit where credit was due. But I think AD should have been at least, because I remember, I think he got drafted by the Colts or something, very late. But AD should have been right up there in the top. And you go down the list and guys that got their opportunities. But at the end of the day, I believe that if I would have stayed another year, I could have really had a legitimate Heisman campaign.
There are a lot of good dudes we mentioned: Al Johnson, Ben Johnson, Martinelli.
Yes,
you had Lee still.
Yeah.
You had guys.
Yeah,
even so Bryson was on the defense.
Yeah, we had the team. Yeah, Jeff was there. I think Jeff is still there. Jeff was probably one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. Yeah, Jeff is just like, you put him in anywhere. I told him, Jeff, we can put you in the middle of nowhere and you'll make friends.
Make friends. He's the nicest human being. Yeah. And on the field, he was good. He hit hard. Yeah. And he loved like his guys.
Yeah, he did.
We played some team. We played some team. I've never been a part of this before. I was on the punt team. He was the personal protector. We're playing some team that we were killing them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And he's like, solid left, something right. I don't know, whatever the things were, whatever the calls were, I can't remember. And he's like, hey guys, just don't even rush. You're losing by so much. It's not worth it. Like, don't try to block. I was dying. Like, hey Jeff, he's like, dude, who cares? Like, it's game's over.
Yeah.
And he's like, ready. And then I was like, dude, Jeff, I can't stop laughing. Like, running down the field and laughing hysterically at that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, that's typical Jeff. So
it's typical Jeff. So what? Yeah. So first off, I think looking back, like when I was there, I would say, I was like, dang, Mike, like I wanted to be there with you. Yeah. But looking at the guys now and how important your body is and how your longevity is not known.
Yeah.
I think you made the right choice. Although at the time, people would probably like, dude, that's a horrible choice.
Yeah. Well, again, you look back at it. I was a cold tub. I was anti-cold tub until I got to the league. I was like, look, I don't need ice. I'm good, because I would go lift. And that was the thing for me. But as time went on, you don't really understand taking care of your body. I think guys understand it more now than back then, because I remember guys would just, after a game, and they go and just drink the whole night. You see them the next day, and they're in the weight room. Yeah.
Who's that guy with two thumbs? That's me.
Yeah, sloppy drunk, but they come in the weight room the next day, and I mean, just banging our weights, and you can smell it on them. It's like, man, oh yeah, I had a wild night, but you're in there lifting. But at the end of the day, I think now the diets, everything that's accessible to guys. I mean, we had the training room as far as going in and get taped up. You get what do they call that? The little
ice and stem. You get a boot.
Ice and stem. Oh my gosh! If somebody said that to me today, I would scream. I hate that.
I had ice and stem 2 hours ago as we were recording this. So
I would scream.
That never worked. Everybody would always ice and stem. That was the way to get guys, ice and stem. But at the end of the day, it was a way of taking care of your body. But they have so much now, so much more than what we had. But the thing is, we thought recklessly with our minds. We just wanted to go out and just pound it in. But now, again, with everything that's evolved in football and taking care of your bodies, taking care of your brain, it has developed so much. Now it's more of an awareness thing. Now you get to see why, guys can play a lot longer. I mean, I look back when we had training camp. I mean, we had 3 practices a day, and it was 2 padded practices. And you're lucky if you didn't piss the coach off, then it would be 3 padded practices. But again, they scale back, and guys are thinking more about their bodies than what we thought about, because we were just reckless abandons. And we knew that if we beat our bodies up, go lift out the soreness, we're going to be fine. Some guys cold tub, some guys ice and stem. I would take the heat any day, but the cold ice. But at the end of the day, I'm just thankful too. I didn't have a big injury time in college. I mean, I took care of my body well enough. And I think track helped me with that because, you're constantly stretching, you're constantly moving. And with our lifting program, with track and with football, it really gave me longevity, in college to where I really didn't get injured. I mean, I went to the combine and I had a piece of paper and it's like, wait, is this a joke? Most guys go in, their medical list is like this big, but I had an ankle sprain and that was it. And they like, wow. So what did you do? How did you mastermind this? But again, like you said, taking care of your bodies, eating right, lifting, stretching, doing all those things. Now it's even more, in today's game.
I couldn't agree more. I know we're running out of time. I just want to hear about your time in the NFL. Like you got drafted. Like, what's it feel like on draft day? And then you got to, the whole thing. Like, what's that whole experience like?
It was an amazing experience. You get invited to New York, but I was one of those guys. Just I wasn't a limelight person. But at the end of the day, you get drafted, and it's like, wow, it's starting all over again. But now it's not college; it's pro. Now it's like you have to be in it for what you're in it for, and you're trying to make a living. You're trying to survive each and every year because at each and every time, every year that you're drafted, that somebody else is drafted, they're trying to replace you. They're trying to get rid of your salary. So you have to make your mark. And I think I had a decent professional career. I did my 5 years in Minnesota. I bounced around. I actually signed with the Saints and then got traded to Kansas City, which I ended up loving. Kansas City. It was a great football town. And then left Kansas City to Tampa. Tampa was amazing. I mean, everybody loves South Florida or Florida, period. From Tampa to San Diego. And now it's like the California thing. It's like, wow, it's really different out here. And then from there to Oakland, and to cap it all off, I did retire the way I wanted to. I wanted to walk away from the game the way I wanted to. But, at the end of the day, you get hurt. Like my knees were swelling up like balloons and they were draining them and have to take this and do all of that. But at the end of the day, I really wanted one of those gold jackets or Super Bowl ring. I'll take either one. But I got Rose Bowl rings. I got, forever Badger on my heart. And that will always be home.
Listen, you know what? You made it way further than I did, and thousands upon tens of thousands. Yeah, so it's just a testament to you, man. It's awesome.
It's beating the odds. It's doing the best that you can at that time, and when you're given that opportunity, you take advantage of it. I look at a running back's career, 3 to 5 years, but with injuries now, it stays right there in that bubble, but. To get 10 years in, and I feel like I said, if I could have walked out of my own, I could at least did 12 or 13 years. But at the end of the day, a great career. I'm happy, a childhood dream come true. And I have, Wisconsin, I have a plethora of linemen, coaches and everything to always just thank, for the opportunity and just the one little block. Again, against Oregon, I'll take you back to, I think it was 2000 against Oregon. I had 10 yards at halftime. And I'm in there like, dude, what are we doing? This is my first time ever flipping out. And then I come out and run for 290 in the second half and we win the game. And it's like, okay, this is what it's all about, Definitely.
Okay, so I know we got to get you out of here in just a second. I'm going to hit you with a couple real fast rapid fire questions. So,
gotcha.
Favorite run play?
Favorite run play? Oh, my God. We ran power. And I love power because I could just get in between the biggest guys that we had, whichever side it was on, power was my play.
So we know Michael Bennett's the fastest man with the ball in his hands. But you and Ed Reed are in the open field. You can't run around him. Juke, spin move, or other to get around him.
You know what? Because I could jump. I'm thinking of like the hurdle.
I love it. Love it. Okay, what's the hardest hit you ever took?
Oh, Brian Urlacher knocked me out off a screenplay, and I saw it coming. We were winning the game. But he knocked me out cold in the air, hit the ground, woke up and went to their sideline. Yeah. Yeah.
Biggest freak in the weight room, whether college or pro?
Darren Sproles.
Really?
Yeah. Pound for pound, the mightiest might I've ever seen. Definitely. Yeah.
Besides Michael Bennett, who's the fastest football player that's ever played on a team that you've been on?
Oh, gosh. Randy Moss.
Who wins in a 40? You or Randy?
Oh, me, of course. Please.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we're gonna leave that right there.
That's
then.
awesome.
I think that's the right place to leave it. Listen, Michael, what are you up to these days? Where can people find you?
What?
Keep up with you.
I have a full-time job raising my daughter here. She wants to say hi, so she can come on in here. You can say hi to the guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
So just a full-time dad and a soccer dad now, and my sons are in Florida. They're doing really good. So just dad on both ends, and just enjoying and embracing that.
Beautiful.
Good for you.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Couple of girl dads just chopping it up, you two.
It's good.
Dude, you're gonna have to give me some tips for soccer. It's not easy to watch, but
I'm learning on the fly. But thankfully, she has my speed, and that's all I need.
That's all that matters. Oh man, oh man. Well, I'll tell my daughter to run away from any of the Bennetts out there. Dude, Michael, really, thank you so much for chopping it up with us.
Thank you.
It's a true honor to be, speaking to you in this way. Like one of my favorite backs at Wisconsin of all time.
Great, brother. Thank you so much.
One of the reasons I started watching. So I had to start watching. I was going to go on the team. I didn't know who these dudes were. But
yes, sir.
And then you signed that jersey for me, and I was like, I'm in love.
Cool.
Like you're just my guy. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. And I love what you guys are doing. Keep up the great work. Hopefully I can get back on another segment.
Yes, sir.
One day here in the future.
The goal for me is still to get Coach Brian White on with a bunch of the former running backs. So
I would love that. And I would have my bubble gum right here just to tease about.
That brings back like camp memories, which I don't love. But I do love those memories.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So,
all right. Well, listen, thanks again for tuning into the Believe in Badger Football podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. He's the Hebrew Hammer, Matt Bernstein. I'm Matt Perkins. This is Michael Bennett. It was awesome. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
All right, Wisconsin. Them W's. Believe that.
Yes, sir.
right here.
Yes. I love it.
In the flesh.
I love it.
Great.
Mike B, you're the best, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. Keep up with the amazing work. Thank you.